Dear mother, I love you. I'm sorry, I wasn't good enough. Dear father, forgive me. 'Cause in your eyes, I just never added up. In my heart, I know I failed you, but you left me here alone. If I could hold back the rain, would you numb the pain? 'Cause I remember everything. If I could help you forget, would you take my regrets? 'Cause I remember everything. Oh, dear brother, just don't hate me for never standing by you or being by your side. Dear sister, please don't blame me. I only did what I thought was truly right. It's a long and lonely road when you know you walk alone. If I could hold back the rain, would you numb the pain? 'Cause I remember everything. If I could help you forget, would you take my regrets? 'Cause I remember everything. I feel like running away, I'm still so far from home. You say that I'll never change, but what the fuck do you know? I'll burn it all to the ground before I let you in. Please forgive me, I can't forgive you now. I remember everything. If I could hold back the rain, would you numb the pain? 'Cause I remember everything. If I could help you forget, would you take my regrets? 'Cause I remember everything. Went by so fast, I still can't change the past. I always will remember everything. If we could start again, would that have changed the end? We remember everything. Everything.
Hey, everybody, this is Doc from Doc's Boneyard, and this week I have a special guest via Zoom to the Whiskey 901 studios. It's actually my son, Matt. Say hi to everybody, Matt.
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Hey, listen, this is a special episode of Doc's Boneyard, and as you guys that have been following me for a while know that this is a safe zone, but not a comfort zone. and I am going to put myself in the crosshairs today. That's right. I'm letting it all hang out. And whatever my son Matt says, I've got to take it. It's going to be a tough one, folks. It's probably going to be a tear jerker, and we might have to take some breaks along the way, but I am throwing this all out there. So, having said that, I'm going to say this, Matt. Are you strapped into the electric chair, buddy?
Always.
All right. You ready to flip that switch?
Sure.
10,000 volts are going to course through your body. You ready?
Let's ride the lightning.
All right. Let's go. All right. So, what is post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTS, post-traumatic syndrome? What do you know about that? And it's okay if you say, well, I don't know a whole hell of a lot. I don't know shit. That's fine too.
I mean, I know it's the way your brain reacts to a fucked up situation. But that's really about it.
Well, you know what? That's pretty much it. That is your mind's way of reacting to a severe trauma of some sort. Now, the trauma could be anything. It could be getting held up at gunpoint, getting your ass kicked in a fight, combat, car accident, death of a loved one, blah, blah, blah. So the circumstances don't matter. It's what happens after the trauma that happens. That's what matters. So how old were you when you first got exposed to me having PTSD from my service in combat?
I'm gonna say,
or at least go as far back as you can remember, and I'll try to fill in some of the blanks.
Probably late 2007, early 2008.
Okay.
Right around there.
So how old were you back then?
I was between 8 and 9
Okay.
years old.
So you really don't remember a whole hell of a lot of me going to Iraq in 2004. You were only, what, 5 years old, maybe?
But
Yeah. So I left when you were young, and your brother was even 2 years younger than that. So I'm just going to throw this out there, brother, and you could be as honest as you want to, because like I said, this is a safe zone. This is not a comfort zone. If you hurt my feelings too fucking bad, I don't care. I'm laying this shit out there. I am opening myself up, and whatever comes out. So don't hold anything back. You ready?
Yep. All
right, man. What was it like living with me having PTSD? I mean, for the whatever you say is going to touch somebody, I want you to realize that, and they're going to identify with what you're saying, and they're going to say, no fucking shit, man. That's exactly what the fuck I went through. Somebody out there fucking gets it. And they said it just like I would say it. So
every day is a roller coaster.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, every day is a roller coaster. You're always on the fence between Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So you have to like walk that very thin line, not to, try and stay within the boundaries of, being a certain behavior, or, just doing the slightest thing can tip you off and flip you over the edge.
So what do you mean by slightest behaviors? I mean, were you like teetering on the edge of, holy shit, and I don't want to piss this fucker off, or what?
I mean, me as a kid. I was always one with a smart ass mouth and, talking back and things like that. It was just something small like that, or I'd make certain remarks, or like walk away and mumble something under my breath. And there was a couple times where that was all it would take, and it would send you into this fucking like rage storm, and it would take you hours or days to come back down out of it.
So what did that do to you when I went off the deep end? That's the important thing. It's what we're talking about, how it affected you. I've thrown this shit out. I've spent hours talking about my experiences, but more importantly, how did it affect you at the time?
I mean, usually it would affect me pretty negatively, but
Well, like
once
what?
I
What do you mean negatively?
just watching you have to go through that, knowing you can't, there's not a fucking thing you can do to help it, and just it's like you're sitting there watching somebody die, but from the inside. It's hard to watch, but there's nothing you can really do to sit there and help them. They have to want to do it on their own, and it was like it sucked to watch you go down this deep dark rabbit hole, and it sucked even more knowing that I couldn't help you or couldn't even try to help you. And
What
so then,
what do you think you could have did? Or I mean, how would you have liked to help me?
I don't know, maybe tried to do more with you to maybe take your mind off of it and maybe kind of snap you out of it in a sense. Just preoccupy your mind with positive things. But
Do you think that there was a magic wand that you could have waved to make it all better and all go away?
Do I wish I had one?
Yeah, back then.
No.
No. Well, talk to me like you were how old?
Well, when you were in Iraq,
8, 7. No, I mean later when you came to live with me. You were what?
Wait, when I came to live with you?
Yeah.
What time?
Hell, anytime. Pick one.
I was here. Are we talking the first time? Second time? I mean,
Hey, what's in a number? We're not going to squabble over numbers here. Just pick a time.
we'll go with like the first time.
Okay.
We lived in that 2-bedroom townhouse.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what kind of stuff went through your mind, man? I mean, I love what you're telling me, but we're just scratching at the surface, man. If there's anything you ever wanted to say to me, and now's your chance, because the whole fucking world's going to hear this. This goes out to 117 countries. This is global.
I mean,
Did I make you mad?
oh yeah, you pissed me the fuck off.
How did I piss you off?
It was just, it would take just the slightest thing to set you off, and I'd be within my normal routine behavior, and it would just, something slight like that would just piss you off, and it would set off a roller coaster of events.
Well, what happened to you when I was on that roller coaster? What did you do? Did you just hide in your room? Did you hide in yourself? Did you keep it inside because you didn't? I mean, what?
All of the above.
All the above. All right. So I've had a lot of therapy over the years, and I went to a program last year at Camp Southern Ground, and it was what's called a non-clinical approach. Okay. It wasn't therapy oriented. You didn't talk about your problems, but what it allowed me to do is to understand why I did what I did. Not just the fact that, well, no shit, I know what I'm doing, but what's the reasoning behind it? And I was able to connect the dots far back from my childhood, long before I even thought about going in the military, until and through my combat experiences. And it connected a lot of dots, and it allowed me to see the bigger picture, not the fact that I have PTSD or PTS, whatever you want to call it nowadays, but how it affected me. And one thing I've learned, that childhood trauma makes you more susceptible to PTSD at a later time. And you might actually have some symptoms of what's called secondary PTSD. That's kind of like PTSD by being around somebody who's got PTSD. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you went through the depression, you went through the anxiety, you went through the anger, you went through the mood swing. You basically had all the same symptoms that I did, and it was because of the way that I was acting and the stupid shit that I was doing. Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That is a natural reaction. That is your brain's way of trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
I definitely agree that it makes me more susceptible to PTSD. Even now, I mean, with my profession, I see a lot of things that most civilians will never see, and I hope to God not.
And just for the audience sake, what is your profession? What do you do? I know what you do, but the listening audience doesn't know.
I am a correctional officer in the state of Florida. I work for the Florida Department of Corrections.
So you get a basic window seat to all the ugly and heinous shit the human mind can come up with, huh?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And how does that affect you? Do you take it home with you?
I try not to. I do my damn hardest to leave it at the gate when I leave work.
Yeah, but buddy, I hate to tell you, man, you're human. That shit will sneak up and bite you in the ass when you're least expecting it. You might be sitting there taking a shit on the toilet, and all of a sudden, your mind goes back to the gang rape you saw, or the assault or murder or whatever.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, it's taken effect on my relationship with my wife, because there are times that I can't separate it, and it does follow me home. And there's times where, in my mind, I'm not doing anything wrong, but in her mind, from her side, I'm treating her like an inmate.
And that's the mentality you pick up.
Yes.
I get it, man. Believe me.
And that's caused a lot of arguments, a lot of fights. I was contemplating divorce for probably 4 or 5 months.
You know what I've learned in all my years of dealing with this shit? It's that you have the power. You control what happens. Well, you can't control what happens, but you can control how you deal with it. And that's the big thing. It's all, you can only keep so much inside for so long before the shit bubbles over, and it's going to come out.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to come out at the worst possible fucking times. That one fucking moment that you really don't need it to come out. You're having a great time with the wife, you're out to dinner or whatever, and all of a sudden something happens and you're like, oh fuck, here it is. How you doing? And then it's out there. And you can't rein that shit back in. You can't, suck it back up your asshole and pretend it didn't happen, because it's out there.
No, you have to face it, admit up to it, and just let nature take its course, pretty much.
So going back to the times that you lived with me and the years, the time span, how did you deal with that shit? And there's no nice way to put it, man. It was fucking shit. And I caused that shit. And, I've got to live with that.
There was, out of all the times that I've lived with you, and, the years that I've spent up there and dealing with, your episodes and things like that.
What do you mean episodes?
When you would go into a rage, try and harm yourself or harm others, the trips you made to the hospital.
Okay, speaking of that, how many trips do you remember?
I remember being there for six different times.
Okay, and if you had to pick one of those out, which one would you pick? And feel free to talk about it, because I've talked about my suicide attempts numerous times. Now, I didn't go into great graphic detail, but
the first one that I was there to witness was definitely the worst.
Okay, and which one was that?
That would have been the instance where you went upstairs, locked yourself in the bedroom, attempted to hang yourself by jumping out the second story window. And then when that didn't work, you went out and sat in traffic hoping somebody would hit you.
Well, I hadn't shared that part of my suicide attempts, but you know what? It's out there now. So yeah, folks, in one of my less lucid moments, yes, I actually went out and sat in the middle of traffic thinking that, somebody would run me over, and that would
You
be the
sat
end of that. Yes. It's kind of funny now, but it sure as hell wasn't then. And I do not get me wrong. I am not making fun of any suicide attempt. That is a cry for help. But just looking at it back at that instance, I could just imagine what the people driving by me were thinking. Like, what the hell is this nut doing out in the middle of the road?
The part you don't remember is how many people actually stopped and tried to help.
No, there are still bits and pieces of that for some reason I can't recall.
While we were standing there watching you sit in the road, I mean, you were sitting in the road for a good 15, 20 minutes. Like, you were sitting there for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You probably had anywhere between 12 to 15 cars stop and try and help you.
Holy shit. I was not aware of that. So
And
what happened? I mean,
I guess it just ignored them. I mean, you just sat there with like a blank face.
Well,
But
what was going through your mind while all this was happening?
To be honest with you, I don't quite remember that part.
Okay. And that's not uncommon either, because your brain can only handle, or not your brain, the brain's the physical organ. The mind can only handle so much shit at one time. It oversaturates itself. It turns itself off until it's ready to figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
So,
I remember the first, we'll say 70% of it. But that last bit when you were sitting on the road, I don't remember what was going through my mind.
Well, and then again, I mean, how many years ago was that? It was more than 15, wasn't it?
It was 2011.
2011. Okay, well, all right. Doing the math here. 13 years ago.
12 years ago.
12 years ago.
No, 11 years ago. Sorry.
11. Damn it. We're going to get it down right. I'm not a mathematician, apparently.
It was I want to say it was either October. It was somewhere between September and November of 2011.
Okay. And how did that affect you? I mean, because I want you to realize that what you say is going to, somebody out there is going to identify with that. And they're going to, like I said before, they're going to say, that's exactly what the fuck I'm going through. Yeah. And I'm glad somebody else out there gets it. And that's what all this is about. I'm not really thrilled about airing my life stories and dirty laundry out to the general public, but if it could be used as a tool to help somebody, so be it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what this is. This isn't about me. It's not about me running my mouth and getting attention. I'm not that kind of guy. I'd rather be that quiet guy in the corner that you didn't even know was there after he's gone.
But the guy you rely on when shit hits the fan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the guy with the not even with the tights and the cape, but that regular Joe Schmo, so to speak, who just comes in, does what's got to be done, and takes off.
Yeah.
So how have you dealt with this through the years? I guess that's the important thing.
I mean, I've accepted, the fact that I can't change what happened. I've accepted what happened, and I've learned how to, I'm not going to say cope with it, but I've learned how to deal with that and not let it get to me, if that makes any sense.
How does it get to you when it gets to you?
I have these even still today. I mean, I'll go through these like depression waves with severe anxiety and depression, to where I've just basically shut myself down. And in those times, my mind, I go through and relive all these negative experiences I have, and it just, yeah.
Have you ever thought about putting it down on paper, kind of like a diary, and then, if you never do anything with it, you never do anything with it. Just, burn it, son of a bitch, one day or something, just to kind
I
of
mean,
purge
I
yourself.
have, but I'm not a writer.
What's a writer?
I've never been one to put my thoughts and things down on paper. That's just not me.
Do you think that there's a specific style to writing?
I mean, your style is whatever you make it.
Right. I mean, do you feel like you have to be eloquent with the way you say things, or you could just say something as simple as like, this is fucked up and why it's fucked up?
I mean, if I had to pick, a style of writing, it would be, straight to the point. No beating around the bush, so to speak.
I hate to break this to you, but as a writer, there is no specific style. The only style that is there is the one you choose to use. You could put all kinds of flowery words and fluff and shit, and people won't read it. You get straight to the point, that'll capture someone's attention.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, people know when you're bullshitting, and people know when you're honest. But the biggest thing is you have to be honest with yourself. And that sucks. That sucks ass. That sucks a bag full of monkey dicks. I mean, there's no nice and polite way to say it. I mean,
I would probably say that's one of the hardest things you have to do, is be honest with yourself. That is by far one of the hardest things you have to do.
Why do you think it's so hard?
Because, I mean, you can try and sugarcoat, things to make it seem like it's, not as bad as it actually is, and, things like that. But it's coming to grips with that and learning to face that at what it is the hardest part.
Why do you think it is that way?
I mean, I've struggled with it for years. And I'm finally getting to a point where I have, accepted every negative thing, or, everything that's gone on in my life. And it's actually been really, really helpful.
Can you go back and change any of it?
Would I go back and change any of it? No.
No. Can you go back and change any of it? Anything?
No.
Okay.
No. Nor would I.
Now that is a powerful statement, because that means that you've accepted what's happened, whether good, whether bad, whatever, and have moved on from it.
Mm-hmm.
If more people learn how to do that, and this is just, well, this isn't just my opinion. This is a fucking fact. Society puts so much emphasis on what people think, what people say, and all that shit. You have to put up an air. You have to pretend to be this fucking way. And when they get behind closed doors, who do they have left?
Nobody.
Exactly. They got their reflection in the mirror.
That's just a big society nowadays is just a big ass facade.
Yeah, they're full of shit. Why not just deal with the shit as it comes up? Doesn't matter how fucked up it is, and be done with it. Why try to create that illusion that you got all your shit together and you're not as fucked up as a soup sandwich? Because let me tell you, I've got Campbell's chicken noodle soup dribbling out the sides of the bread, but I'm okay with that. I'm fine being a fucked up soup sandwich. I just get to pick the flavor of the can. That's all. I have no problem with that. Now, for a long time, I had a big problem with it. I didn't want to deal with the fact that I was a fucked up soup sandwich. And I didn't know how to deal with the fact that I was a fucked up soup sandwich. There's a theme here. The whole fuckness, fuckness comes in different shapes and sizes and flavors. But at the end of the day, you're all fucked anyway. So how do you feel now about the conversation we're having?
I mean, at first I was a little nervous, but it helps to talk about that stuff. Like, it really does. Like, our conversation the other night, I mean, that not only opened both of our eyes, but it was extremely helpful, and it should have been done a long time ago.
Well, I'm going to throw out that old expression, shoulda, woulda, couldas don't mean shit. Shit happens when it's ready to happen. But having said that, I will say this. Putting shit off because you don't want to do it or it's uncomfortable, I hate that. That's just me. I would rather get the shit out in the open, deal with it, be done with it, and move on to something else. But I mean, I guess that's the warrior mentality in me, the slay the beast or whatever, But that is just me, I guess. And one thing I've got to remind myself is not everybody is that way. Still there?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. You got off quiet on me.
No, I'm just listening.
Oh. So do you see a difference now in me than back then?
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
So what do you think that is?
Just like we've both said, I mean, you've come to terms with what happened. You've implanted that in your mind that you can't change it. The only thing you can do is move forward.
Well, now I have two choices. Actually, I could stay in the past, or move forward. I mean, yeah, that's it.
You chose to move on, and it has, over since your last episode, so we'll say the last 4 or 5 years, you've made a complete 180. Like there was times with some of those episodes where I was honestly just waiting for you to actually be successful in one of those.
Well, I've often thought about that, and I don't have an answer for that.
That was always one of my biggest thoughts when any of that stuff was happening. Was, what if he succeeds? What then?
Okay, well, you know what? You threw out an excellent question, man. You opened Pandora's box. The what if? Okay, what if? What if I had succeeded? Then what? You sure as hell would be having this conversation, for one thing.
Well, no.
I mean, life would either go on for those left, or life would stop. Those are two choices. I've been at the scene of many suicides, and the question that comes up every single time is the why. Why did this have to happen? Why did he or she have to do this? What was so bad that would make them want to commit suicide? And to be quite honest, as a suicide survivor, hopelessness. You do not see light at the end of the tunnel. You are that far down in that hole that there is no daylight. It's a sad reality. I mean, that's exactly what happens. And you start to think, well, maybe those around me would be better off if I wasn't here. And that sort of perpetuates the thought process. And it's
I
not
mean,
a, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say there was a lot of times where even I contemplated suicide after you had your episodes, just because it was like you just said, it was, maybe everything would stop, be okay if I wasn't around anymore, or everyone would be, happier if I wasn't here.
Let me ask you this. Did you have a plan?
A few times, yes.
And did you have what's called an intent to act, which is, were you ready to commit that act?
Yes.
And what stopped you?
To be completely honest with you, I'm not sure.
Do you think it was maybe some divine intervention, if you believe in that kind of thing, or maybe something in the back of your mind saying, well, maybe I really don't want to do this as much as I think I want to do this?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
I'm just throwing that out there, kind of food for thought, because when somebody hears this, they're going to think the same thing. Is what I'm going through really bad enough that I want to do this? That's an individual question. But I am going to take the opportunity, since we are talking about the realities of suicide, to throw out the suicide prevention or National Suicide Prevention Hotline number. That's 1-800-273-8255. And if you are hearing this and you are a veteran, press 1. It's the same number for everybody. There's no difference. You just have a menu option. That's all. And suicide is a taboo subject in our society. But if more people were aware of the things that lead to suicide, maybe we wouldn't lose so many people. Now, if someone's going to do something, there's just not shit you can do to stop them. If they've made up their mind, they're going to do it, they're going to do it. And 9 times out of 10, unsuccessful suicide attempts are cries for help. And like I said, I am a suicide survivor, 2 or 3 times in the grand scheme of things, I guess, and have been hospitalized for depression and anxiety. Hell. I want to say 8, 9 times, something like that.
7 or 8.
Yeah. Of course, that hasn't happened since 2016, I do believe. Now, the last time I was hospitalized for depression was because my doctor took me off all my meds, which was stupid. That was only a matter of time before that happened, because I had no meds in my system. But yeah, this is a very ugly, taboo subject. But I'm willing to throw it out on the table, because if it could reach, that one teenager who's living in PTSD hell from, either the mother or their father, then, it's my little bit of uncomfortableness has been well served. And I appreciate you being ballsy enough to come on my show and talk about this shit.
Well, thank you for the invite. It's good to talk about this stuff. It's something that needs to be talked about, that not a lot of people will.
It is good to talk about it, but in order to talk about it, you've got to open yourself up. And, like I said at the beginning, this is a safe zone and not a comfort zone. This show isn't all, unicorns and rainbows. On this show, I deal with the real shit, the shit that lurks when you turn the light switch off at night, little monsters that roam around in your head and in your closet and underneath the bed. Hopefully through doing this, we could turn the light on some of these little bastards that jump out of Pandora's box, all the little Pandoras that run amok and fuck shit up. And maybe they won't be so scary in the light. If you would like to, I'm going to extend another invitation to join the show, and we'll talk about, something, whatever. But I would love to have you back on, Matt. I really appreciate the size of your balls and talking about this stuff. It's not easy. It's not easy shit to deal with, man. And I love you for it, man.
I love you too.
And I
will definitely do this again.
All right, man. I've got to sit and digest all this stuff. Let it all sink in.
Yeah, you have to sit there and edit all this stuff.
Well, no, I'm not talking. No, I'm pretty much there's not that much to edit. No, I've got to sit and wrap my head around everything we talked about, because I'm going to listen to the raw audio of this interview a couple more times, as I put it together for the final show. But yeah, I'm going to sit and, and soak all this shit up, But again, I want to thank you for being part of Doc's Boneyard. I love you for it. I appreciate your honesty, your candor. You still don't have balls bigger than mine. So aside from the size of my son's testicles, the actual Zoom recording stopped just at that point. But what you heard was his account of what it's like to have a father with PTS or PTSD and the shit that goes along with that. And again, I am proud as hell of him for coming forward and sharing his story, so I can share his story with you guys. And maybe in the process of all this sharing, maybe we could, make a difference in someone's life. The truth is not pretty, folks. The truth can be an ugly motherfucker. And, it is what it is. I make no excuses. I own everything. That was me. I thank you for tuning in. As always, I gotta throw the tagline out, man. I gotta throw the tagline out. Thank you for listening to me ramble incessantly. God, I love that saying. You know what? It's mine. I own it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, shoot me a line at theboneyard2021@yahoo.com. That's theboneyard2021@yahoo.com. Hey, also, check out my weekly radio show. That's right. I do 2 to 3 live broadcasts each week on DBY Radio. You can go to Facebook and put in DBY Radio for station identification information and broadcast times. Again, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Remember, it's not the fat, the meat, the gristle. It's just the bare bones. See you next time, folks.